Welcome back into the Chris Mathis podcast, another Talk to Him Tuesday edition of the Chris Mathis podcast. Spencer Mathis here with me as always. We're excited for our next guest here on Talk to Him Tuesday, Seth McCoy, a.k.a. the Six Shooter on TikTok. You guys can see all his information scrolling at the bottom of the screen on the ticker and in our bio as well. We'll have all of his links down below, but want to shout out our sponsor, Information on Demand, offering pre-employment background screening services, fast, accurate, affordable background screening services. Whether you need criminal background checks, drug screenings, E-Verify, academic accreditation, they've got you covered. Check out their website, informationondemand.net, or give them a call, 855-914-4636, 855-914-4636, Information on Demand. They bring you guys our guest here on Talk to Him Tuesday, Seth McCoy, a.k.a. the Six Shooter. Very excited to have you guys tuned in. And without further ado, we bring on the Six Shooter right here on TCM Pod.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Man, we're excited to have you on and let everybody know about you because obviously they've seen you on TikTok, whether they're a local guy in North Georgia or across the country, even the world. They've seen some of your stuff and your talents. But Seth, real briefly, because we're going to talk about you, your career, and your lifestyle, and even your new basketball shooting program, the Six Shooter Academy that you've created. But first and foremost, briefly talk about yourself and introduce yourself to those that are not familiar with who Seth McCoy is.
All right, so my name is Seth McCoy. I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio. Somehow a team in Georgia found me, and I played my basketball career at Young Harris College. I ended my college career being the all-time leading three-point shooter in school history, and I was blessed to be able to play Division II basketball. And right now, I'm in the process of figuring out how TikTok works, and I think I've found a little bit of a groove. So I'm kind of just riding the wave and trying to help as many people as possible right now.
You talk about just finding the groove. The groove of TikTok. You have over 150,000 followers on TikTok as of right now at the Six Shooter on TikTok. Over 1 million likes. It's going to be fun to see where things go for you when you do figure out the real groove, because I find that insane. But Seth, we're here to talk about basketball and kind of your career. So flashback a couple of years, maybe even 15 years at this point. What's the earliest memory that you have of basketball?
Man, that's hard because I've had a basketball in my hand for as long as I can remember. My mom played at Division I at Winthrop University. It was Winthrop College at the time. She always makes sure I know that because it was a while ago. But she was the first person to put a ball in my hand. And honestly, the first memory I've had playing basketball was probably when I first started to want to take it seriously, around sixth grade. So I was like 12. I tried out for a team in Ohio, an AAU team that my brother played for the year before. And I used to practice with them the year before. So I thought, oh, it's going to be easy. I'm going to make this team. I got a foot in the door already. And me and my mom thought I killed the tryout, thought I did really well. But the coach pulled us aside and said, hey, you're not going to be on the team this year. And he looked at me, and this is something that's resonated with me my whole entire career, and it's kind of what jump-started my journey into basketball. Was he looked at me, I was a sixth grader, he was like, you'll never be a good player one day, but you might be a good coach. And I don't know if that's a great motivating factor to tell a 12-year-old, but I remember going home that day, and I walked in to my mom and my dad in the office, and I looked at him. I said, "Hey, like I kind of want to play basketball seriously from now on, and I want to quit football. I want to quit baseball. I want to solely focus on basketball." And they looked at me and said, "Hey, you could do that, but you gotta work at it like a job. It's not going to be you quit these two sports or whatever, and you can just kind of lay low and half-ass it, as you will." So I from sixth grade on, I've kind of viewed basketball as a job. Every day after school, I would get out at like 3. Me and my mom would be at the rec center 3 to 6 doing drills when I was 12, and kind of just fell in love with it. Basketball has been a part of my life forever, and that's when it kind of clicked when I was about 12.
Yeah, so that was the light switch that made you want to devote your craft to basketball only, considering you played multiple sports growing up. Have you always been a gifted 3-point shooter, or is that something you really had to work on?
I had to work on it. My shot was broke. As you said, I wasn't a natural athlete. I wasn't gifted with any athletic ability or basketball ability, really. I'm very OCD, so I like things being perfect. And it's kind of funny that I fell in love with basketball because basketball is not a perfect sport. But the intro to my shooting program is called the In a Row series. And that's something that I developed with my mom and with my uncle who taught me how to shoot. So I love things being perfect. And the In a Row series is something that is not perfect, because basically what it is you pick a spot and you can't leave that spot till you make a certain amount in a row, right? And so the progression is you start off at 3. And once 3 gets too easy, you bump it up to 5. Once 5 gets too easy, you bump it up to 7. And once 7 gets too easy, you bump it up to 10. And then you do that at different spots on the court. So for me, being OCD, I fell in love with that. So I don't know how much I fell in love with basketball, but I fell in love with the process of striving for perfection, if that's the right way to say it. But like the in a row stuff wasn't easy at first. I would do 3 in a row or make 30. So my workouts, I get a ton of shots up ever since I was 12. People always my workouts don't look fun because I could be at a spot for like an hour to move on, but I'm aiming for perfection. So when people start training with me, I tell them the longest part of my workout is the intro, is the beginning, because that's the foundation to your jump shot. Like once anybody can stand in a spot and hit a certain amount of jump shots. So a lot of people, when I used to go in the gym with them, they would say, all right, make 10 at a spot and then move. Well, what separates an elite shooter from a shooter is, well, I can make 10 in a row from that spot. I'm not just making 10. Like you guys can do that, but I'll be here for 2 hours and finish. And I'll end up walking out of a workout, getting up 1,000 shots, and you guys only got up 200. So it's like, that's the first thing that I fell in love with that kind of started my basketball journey into shooting. And no, I was not a shooter from the get. My jump shot has evolved and changed in many different ways. When I was younger, I shot from my chest. And I started to develop a good jump shot from my chest, right? But that's when I was younger. And then my mom and my mom and my uncle, who taught me how to shoot, said, hey, once you get to a certain point, you're going to have to move your shot above your head. And that was probably the most grueling, like, summer or year and a half of my life, because I went from being able to shoot to having to stay mid-range and all that kind of stuff to let my shot develop. And I watch highlights of all the NBA shooters and all that kind of stuff. I fell into the try to emulate who I see. So my shot changed a ton over my journey because I never really thought to myself, well, create my own jump shot, right? So I always wanted to shoot like Steph, or I wanted to shoot like blast from the past. Jimmer Fredette was somebody I watched a lot. Mm-hmm. And so he jumped really high on his shot. So I went through a little stretch where I was like, well, I'm going to jump as high as I can, and that's going to work. Well, as high as I can is not very high to begin with, but it really kind of jacked up my shot a little bit. And then I would say it took me to find my actual shot. It took me I started the process from my freshman year, and I didn't really find my shot until my senior year of high school. Like I kind of through those years, it was so up and down, so different and all that. But then I finally found it, and it's been the same from my senior year till now. And I think it's turned into something pretty special.
At what moment did you realize, hey, you know what? I can fire the 3-point shot like no other?
Probably after my senior year of high school. It started getting like drills and stuff started getting really easy. I love, like, so in my rec center that I trained at home, I had a track above it. So a lot of older folks would be walking around up top, and it used to be they would stop and talk to my mom because my mom's my trainer. So So they never really saw a mom be a trainer, and we're there every day. So they saw us there every day for 4 to 5 hours. So they saw how hard we worked. But the respect was to my mom, like it wasn't to me. So I think when I first started knowing like, man, I can shoot and it's starting to pay off, is when those guys, like those people, started stopping and being like, hey, I've walked around like 20 times and you haven't missed a shot. So it's like just that stuff in my head kind of trained me to like when I'm other places and there wasn't people watching, I would always think to myself like, okay, well, I'm trying to impress those people. I want people who don't know anything about basketball to watch me and know it's amazing what I'm doing. So it's like that's something that I always tried to play in the back of my head to be like, okay, well, your mom or your dad or your grandparents who don't know anything about basketball is going to know that I'm an amazing shooter. And that's kind of the stuff I tried to play in my head, because you gotta motivate yourself in different ways.
Steph Curry's impacted. What is the biggest chip on your shoulder?
Probably it stems back to 6th grade when the coach said I wasn't good enough. I like proving people wrong, and I like really working hard to achieve stuff. My whole life I've been told no. I've been told that I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. High school was a journey for me, because like, of course, every freshman wants to start varsity or play varsity as a freshman. I remember sitting down with my coach and he asked me like, what's your goal this year? And I was a freshman at the time. And I of course, like every freshman, I was like, oh, I want to play varsity and I want to go play college after I'm done. And he looked at me and said, well, Seth, you're never going to be good enough to do that, and you'll never make it out of Canal. That's where I'm from, Canal, Winchester, Ohio. So not a lot of people make it out of Canal for basketball or for sports or whatever. So he told me like, no, you're not gonna do that. And I'm like, okay, well, watch this. So I played JV my freshman year and I averaged about 20. And my name was on the roster for varsity, but I never got the nod to get bumped up. And so just things over my life, over my little journey, has kind of added to the fire of things that I just keep in the back of my head. Because I'm not the athlete that people are. I'm not fast. I can't jump. Like getting a little rim grazer dunk is like that, like makes my life. Like I don't care what happens. Like if I get a little dunk, I don't care what happens the rest of the day. But I knew really, like my dad makes a joke because my mom's an athlete, and my dad is not. My dad's not an athlete. Bless his heart, I love him to death. But he tells me like, oh, I'm so sorry that you fell in love with basketball and you got all of your athleticism from me. So my dad's a computer guy, super smart. He works at Nationwide, and he's kind of the backbone of our family and of my journey, because it's nice to have somebody separate that doesn't really care too much about basketball. So I have somebody, an outlet to go talk to. But it's always just funny because whenever I talk about my athleticism or whatever, I got it from him. So he always knows, well, everything you earned, you didn't get from me. So it's definitely perseverance and wanting to prove people wrong. That's the stuff that's always motivated me. And I actually, the little saying I always said was dedicated and determined. That was something that was my 2 words I kept saying. Like, I'm dedicated and I'm determined. So whatever I want to happen is going to happen, because you telling me I can't do something's not going to affect the way that I work to try to achieve what I'm going after. So you can tell me for all you want that I'm not going to be able to do this or that. But since high school, I've gone to Chatham, Virginia for prep school. So already I made it out of my hometown. And then from there, I got a full scholarship to a Division I school in Canada. That's in Nova Scotia, Canada. That's not Canal, Winchester. And then from there was a coaching change. So I wasn't in Canada for too long, but Canada basketball is amazing. I want to go back as soon as I can. And the people there are amazing. I absolutely love Canada. And we still have a group chat of the team that I was there with. So I talk to them almost every day. From there, I went to junior college in Lewisburg, North Carolina. That's also not Canal Winchester. And then from there, I was blessed enough to find Young Harris after there, and I've lived in Young Harris for the last 4 years. And if you guys can guess, that's also not in my hometown. So
yeah. No doubt. Again, Seth, I want to talk about your favorite player growing up, even up to this point, too, as you've gotten older, Steph Curry, which even for those that, as you said, you want to show how awesome basketball is, even for somebody that doesn't care about basketball, Steph Curry does that as well. Anybody knows Steph Curry and appreciates his talents and his ability to shoot the ball from wherever. For you, a guy that shoots the three ball, a guy that wants to live off the three, as you said, that you were never really the fastest player on the court, but you could always shoot the ball. What did Steph Curry do for you, a player like yourself growing up?
Well, it's really funny. So I didn't really like watching the NBA all that much until Curry got into the league. So the March Madness run in 2008, when he went crazy, was the first time I ever saw Steph. And I think that's the first time anybody in the country saw who Steph Curry was. And from there, I fell in love with him. Like I love, like anybody who knows me, like I love Steph Curry. He is my absolute favorite player in the whole, like in the history of just basketball. Like when he retires, I don't know how much NBA I'm actually going to watch. Like he's hurt right now and I'm not watching many games. But nobody knew who he was. So I remember he was my favorite player in college. And then I was watching the 2009 draft. He got drafted to the Warriors. And I was like, well, okay, the Warriors are going to be my favorite team. Not many people in Ohio liked the Warriors, or knew who the Warriors were, because at that point they were like 27 and something. They didn't win a lot of games. So I made my dad buy me League Pass so I could stay up. None of their games were on TV. Their games are at 10:30 at night. So I'm under my covers, watching Golden State games when Curry's a rookie. The first jersey I ever bought with my own money was a Stephen Curry rookie jersey. It was in 6th grade. I wore it to school, and people thought it was like a G League jersey or like some other high school jersey. They didn't know who the Warriors were. And it's funny because growing up in Ohio, everybody's Cleveland fans. Everybody's Cleveland Cavalier fans. Mm-hmm. So when Golden State started getting good, who'd they play in the finals? It was Cleveland. And I'm the only Golden State fan in Ohio, probably. So that year, me and my brother went to a game during the regular season in Cleveland. And it was the first Golden State game I've ever seen. I'm decked out head to toe Golden State. And it sucked because I was sick. Like I was actually, but I wanted to go to the game. So I wasn't going to not go to see Steph Curry play. Like that's ridiculous. But I'm literally like walking around, people telling me, go back to the Bay, go back to Golden State. I'm like, guys, I'm from Columbus. Like I'm from here. I'm 2 hours away. Like leave me alone. But they won the championship that year, and everybody's a bandwagon this, bandwagon that. Everybody in Columbus, Ohio said on Twitter, the only person that can enjoy this Golden State championship is Seth McCoy, because we know he's a Golden State fan. So it's like, and in terms of like Steph's impact on me, he doesn't even know me. Like he doesn't know who the 6 shooter is. Maybe he does. Maybe he's seen some of my videos, because some of my videos have gotten a lot of views or whatever. Maybe he's one of them. But he's inspired me in so many ways that it's kind of crazy. Like I'd love to meet him and tell him the impact that he's had on my life and different drills that I've done because of him. So the first one that I did, there was a video that went viral of Curry the year that he won the MVP. And it was, he made like 93 or 94 out of 100. So of course, being the guy that I am, I added a drill to my daily workouts of trying to get however many out of 100 that I could. Of course, when I started, I was getting like 65, 70, like whatever. But I did it every day. So it was, I got up to the point where I was getting in the 80s consistently. And then I got to 85. Then I was stuck on 89 for God knows how long. My gosh. I was like, I just want to get in the 90s. Like, please. But the day that Curry got announced MVP, I was stoked. I was excited, had a Curry shirt on. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go. I'm going to go do this drill. and I hit 95 out of 100. And it was my senior year of high school. That was the first time I ever hit that many out of 100. And I just remember that was the first video that because I posted stuff on YouTube when like I wasn't a thing, like in high school. Like I would always post drills to YouTube. And that was like the first one that like kids in my high school saw. And it was like, oh my God, he hit 95 out of 100, like whatever. And had some people think it was fake. Had some people think that I didn't really do it. But then, and it's funny because I do that drill now. It's become a staple in my life and in my workouts. And last summer, Curry hit 105 in a row, right? So that video went viral. And so I was like, well, I already do this drill where I see how many I can hit out of 100. So I'm gonna bust my butt and see if my whole goal last summer was to hit 100 in a row. So I was like, you know what? Like, that's going to be pretty cool. Like, I don't know if I can do it, but we'll see. So I kept doing the out of 100 drill. And it was probably my best shooting summer of my life because I was just focused. I was coming off a knee injury after the COVID year. So I was benched for a little bit. And all I could think about was, so I had time just to set all my workouts. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna kill this when I'm back. And if you know me, I hate taking time off. I've had tendonitis in my knees due to overworking because like I didn't want to take any time off. But I was like, I'm going to hit 100 in a row. Like I'm going to do it. I know I'm going to do it. So I was doing the out of 100 drills and I was constantly like 97, like every day. If you took the average every day during the summer of what I got out of 100, it was literally like I averaged 96 out of 100 for the whole entire summer. And it's just funny because to me, it wasn't anything crazy because I do those drills every day. So like from an outside perspective, it's crazy. But to me, it's like an everyday thing. You know what I mean? So then one day, like, so the summer's almost over. I'm like, dang, I'm not going to get 100 in a row. I went to the gym with my mom. My mom's my rebounder. And it's funny because like if I ever get close to anything, she like starts giggling and like laughing and it throws me off, right? So like when I was like 13 or 14, like my goal was to make like 100 free throws in a row. And there was one day I was in the rec center and she was rebounding and I lost track, but she knew what I was at. So I thought I was at like 99 or almost 100. And so I thought I hit 100 and she started laughing. So I lost focus. And I missed the next one, and I missed it. Like it was like 92. So I'm like, Mom, you gotta not look at me when I'm doing these drills. But I did. I went in like a normal day, and I was like, summer's almost over. I'm moving into school here in a couple weeks. And then it happened. Like I hit 102 in a row. So it was like wow, like the holy, like I stopped the workout. I was only in the gym for 20 minutes that day. That was the first thing that I did. And I was like, I'm done. We're going home. But since then I've hit over 100 threes in a row 8 times. The most is 119. I've hit 116 twice, but for whatever reason, 119 is I've been stuck for a little bit, but next goal is 150. And then of course the next goal is 200 and then we'll see.
Man, unreal. Now, I also want to reference a Steph Curry video that you did on TikTok. I believe it was a challenge on TikTok. We're going to play that video right here for you guys. So if you're on YouTube and or Spotify watching this podcast, check it out right now.
Ever since I saw Steph Curry hit 105 threes in a row, I got inspired to try to beat him. I've always wanted to do it. That was my goal all summer. And I want to give you guys a little update. The first time I hit 100 in a row was at the end of the summer. I hit 102 threes in a row. Since then, I have eclipsed 100 threes in a row 5 different times. Every single time I've done it on my TikTok live, so all my followers and all the people who support me can watch. So far, I've hit 102, 114, 116, 118, and 119 threes in a row. But I'm not done yet. My goal is to hit 150 in a row, maybe even 200 one day. Keep watching, and that's what I'm going to be trying to do. Now,
Since then, you've hit it 8 different times.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Well, it's funny because that video, I would always post a sped up version whenever I did hit over 100, and I'd post that. And those videos wouldn't do super well because they're like a minute and a half. So TikTok, like the algorithm thinks like watch time. That's what gets, so people don't watch the whole video. So so I thought to myself, I was like, oh, okay, I'll put the ending of the inner rows and make a compilation of those and post that with a voiceover. And I didn't think anything of it, but I said like in the voiceover, I said my goal all summer was to beat Steph, and people took that like I was trying to attack Steph, and I'm like, guys, I'm the biggest Steph Curry fan that you could possibly think of. Like, ask me a question about Steph, I know it. And one of the main things they kept saying was, oh well, yours isn't from NBA range, and I'm like, guys, I'm not in the NBA. Like, I'm shooting from the college line, which is like 22.5. And I actually did some research just to clarify some stuff. Curry hit 105 in the NBA corner, which is the shortest distance in the corner in the NBA, 22.5. It's the same distance. So I'm literally thinking I'm going to make a video of this diagram and point like, hey, I'm shooting from the same distance. It's just not from the corner. But then I've stopped myself and I'm like, oh, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy because Steph's my favorite player of all time. And I hope he keeps doing things that are amazing, because then I'll just keep getting inspired to do things. Because, I mean, he pushed me to achieve something that I honestly never thought was possible. When I was younger, I wanted to be a Power Ranger. And now I'm making 100 threes in a row, and I want to be a world-renowned NBA shooting coach. Like, I never thought when I was younger I was going to be where I am today. But I knew the main thing that I always knew is I always wanted to help people. I've always wanted to find kids that are like me that never thought that they'd have somebody in their corner, or didn't think they had somebody that believed in them, or just anything. Like, because my whole life I was told no. So my whole journey has been predicated on people telling me I'd never be good enough, or people telling me that, I mean, I'm shooting for the stars and I'm never going to hit anything. And then I'm just like punching this door that'll just never open for me. And I know there's a ton of kids out there that feel the exact same way that I do. And for a while I wanted to be a teacher, because I thought like that would be the best way for me to reach people. But it's turned into like basketball is that thing. Basketball has already gotten me in touch with so many kids around the world that have been told no, and that have been told they're not good enough. And I tell them like, hey, I'm going to be that guy that's in your corner. I believe in you. Like, you know what I mean? So my whole motto is be positive. My whole motto is dedicated and determined. Like, I want you to achieve dreams that people said you'd never be able to achieve. And I want you to shoot for the stars. And if you fall flat on your face, at least you tried. Like, my big thing now is I'm shooting to play professional basketball. Like, that's my next hoop. I might fall flat on my face, but in 20 years, if I don't try, I'm going to be like, dang, like I'm going to have regret. So the thing I want to tell kids around the world is just, if there's a dream, if you want to play in the NBA, but you're a 5'5", 150-pound person, like, shoot for it. I don't care. Work your butt off, and anything. You'd be surprised what opportunities arrive if you just work hard and you stay consistent in your craft. And I mean, I never thought in high school, like my dream was to be in the NBA. My dream was to play college basketball. And so many people just thought that was impossible. And like, I remember sitting in my locker room, my senior year of high school, and so senior year, your people are starting to get talked to by colleges and all that kind of stuff. And they're starting to realize that the dreams they had when they were younger, like it's not going to happen, because like the reality of it, you're just not getting looked at by any schools. I was very under recruited. I didn't really start getting recruited until after high school. But I remember sitting in my locker room and all these this guy, I'm not going to name anybody just because I don't really want to, but I remember him coming in and laughing, and he was like, "Hey, remember when we all wanted to go to Duke or like North Carolina, and now we're like ecstatic if like a D3 or NAIA school talks to us?" And it's like they're all laughing, and I'm sitting in my locker, and I'm like, "Well, you guys can shoot for that. Like I'm still trying to go as hard as I can." I didn't like, my mindset in high school was so different from everybody else. Everybody was like focused on being popular and going to parties and going to prom and all that. I skipped my prom. I went and worked out. Like I was in the gym during my prom. I didn't go to parties. I was getting up at 4 a.m. I was doing workouts and then going to school and then having practice. And then after practice, I went back to the rec center and did more stuff. Like that's the stuff I fell in love with. And in high school, I was viewed as weird. I was viewed as like, "Oh my God, you love basketball more than anything." And I've been broken up with in high school because girls made me like choose them or basketball. And I look at them like they're ridiculous. And I'm like, "Well, are you going to pay for my school? Like I'm trying to go to school for free. I'm trying to play this game that I love." And it's from there, I mean, just a different mindset. I love basketball with every fiber in my being. And I know there's other kids out there that are like me that think they're different, that think that they don't belong or they don't fit in. And that's one of the biggest things that I have in my shooting program that I have out now is I made a Facebook group that once you get the shooting program, you have access to join the Facebook group. And what separates my shooting program from other people's programs out there are I wanted to build a community of kids that work hard and that love the game, so they don't feel like they're alone. So they don't feel like this process is just too overwhelming and all of that. Like there's a kid, there could be a kid from North Carolina that bought my shooting program that is now friends with a kid in France that bought my shooting program, because I encourage kids to post videos and post things in the program so they can and tell me what their numbers are on my certain drills and all that stuff. And the support has just been unreal. Like I never thought in my wildest dreams that I'd have kids in a little virtual place, like talking about my drills and talking about the stuff that I came up with and telling me that I inspired them to do things. And like when I was doing programs when I was younger, I was, of course, like you do what you got to do to get better. But like I would always, they would always put an email if you have any questions, right? And so I would email them when I have questions, and I always got like an automated response back, and you could tell that it wasn't personal. Like you could tell that you weren't really talking to the person that made the shooting program. And like my big thing is after I go live or anything on TikTok, I tell them like, "Hey, like DM me on Instagram. Like I will respond if you have any questions." I've talked to over 1,000 people on Instagram. They're not even in my program, and they're asking me questions. I built relationships with these kids, and they're calling me Coach McCoy and like telling me like, "Your drills are changing my life," and like all this kind of stuff. And like I had a kid DM me not too long ago, and it was like midnight. He's from a different country, and he DM'd me and said, he said your drills like have changed my life, and all I want to say is thank you. And like it was overwhelming for me, because that's something that I'm trying to accomplish. And I remember calling my wife, because she wasn't with me at the time. She was back at home, like crying. I was like, "Babe, why am I crying at midnight? Like this is ridiculous." But that's like, TikTok is cool, right? Like TikTok has been a journey for me, but my whole life I've been searching for a platform to help inspire, and TikTok has been that. So anybody who makes fun of me for making funny videos or all this, like whatever, I'm a guy. You walk in the gym, I have my tripod. I literally have my tripod in my workout bag just in case I need it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so like, even throughout this whole year, my senior year, I had my tripod with me wherever I went. And for, like, I got people like laughing at me for doing social media, like, "Ooh, you're an influencer," or whatever. but the amount of kids that I've been able to reach that I know I wouldn't have been able to reach if I didn't have TikTok, or I didn't have this little platform that I have. Like, TikTok has changed my life in so many different ways, and it's opened the doors to possibilities that I've always dreamed of and that I never thought was possible. And I'm, like I told you earlier, like, I'm gonna ride the wave as long as I can, and hopefully I change some more kids' lives. And honestly, these kids are telling me that I changed their lives. They've changed mine. Like, I end my lives every day telling people, thank you for watching, thank you for sticking around, because without you guys, I'm just a guy shooting in front of a camera. Like, I mean, it's stuff I've done my whole entire life, but they're the ones who are making it impactful. It's not me. Like, I want to be that guy in their corner that just tells them that they can do it.
So how did you earn the nickname Six Shooter at Hargrave Military Academy, and what does it mean?
So it's funny. So we had an announcer that was starting to give people nicknames. So, like, every time they score, he would say, like, whatever their name is and then their nickname. And I didn't have one. So I was like, oh, like that, like, I went up to him after a game. I was like, can you please, like, make me one? Like, I would love, like, that would be awesome. Because he would just say Seth McCoy for 3. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't have a cool ring to it. Like, come on. But he's like, you know what? I got you. The next 3 you hit, you're going to hear it. I'm like, all right, bet. And he's like a chaplain at Hargrave. Like, he's a really, really good dude. And I hit a 3 the next game, and he yelled, 3 by the Six Shooter. And at first I didn't know what that meant. Right. So I was like, well, WTF? Like, I don't know what that is. And he told me, he's like, well, you're automatic, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, the 6 shooter gun is an automatic gun. And I was like, oh, that's pretty dope. Like, I like that. But the way they wrote it was SIX, like normal, like the 6 shooter. And it's funny because I never really thought to myself that I was going to run with that name or anything. I didn't think that was just a Hargrave thing. Like, I didn't think that was going to turn into anything. And then my brother got me an Xbox one day. He had a good job. He wanted to buy me something. So he bought me an Xbox. I knew nothing about how to set up, like, an account or anything. So my brother did it for me. And he asked me, what was the name that you were called at Hargrave? And I was like, oh, well, the 6 shooter. And he's like, all right. So my gamer tag on Xbox is 6IX shooter. And I was like, why'd you change it to 6? And he's like, because it looks a lot cooler. And I looked at it, I'm like, you're right. Like, it does. It looks cooler. So and it works out because Columbus, the area code is 614. So I can always tie it back to that. But the 6 shooter was invented by a guy at Hargrave and then modified by my loving brother, Larry Alexander McCoy. So it's turned into something really special. And I want it to, like, Lethal Shooter is a guy that I look up to. And eventually I want the 6 shooter to be as much of a household name as Lethal Shooter. That's the goal. And I think it has a really good ring to it. So I'm hoping that it catches on.
Yeah, no doubt, Seth. I also want to talk about your success at Young Harris College briefly, as you did, walk away from the school as the all-time leader in most three-pointers made in program history. In that situation, that's a big moment. Is that a situation in which, going into every game, it's something that could be playing a head game with you? Like, oh, man, I'm 5 away, I'm 6 away. And if so, how do you handle that? Or if there was nothing there, was it just another game? Like, how did you try to handle that and keep your emotion at bay?
I definitely didn't handle it as well as I wanted to. One of the big reasons, because I got to choose if I got to come back or not because of COVID. So one of the two factors really is one, or the three is one. I love Young Harris. Everything that I've gotten professionally and on it, like, I got Avery here. Everything in my life that I've gotten is from Young Harris. Like my best friend that I've ever met is here. My loving wife that I love so much that it's unrealistically how much I love her. I got her from Young Harris. The two reasons I came back was I was 59 threes away from the all-time record, and I was about 200 points short from my college career 1,000. And I didn't get to have my 1,000 points in high school, so it was a big deal for me that I wanted to do that. And I'm lucky that I achieved both of them this season. And with the record, so I started off the season really hot. I hit like 44 threes in the first like 8 or 9 games. So in my head, I'm like, oh, I got this. Like I went into Christmas, I was like 16 away. I was like, oh, I got this. And then apparently every Peach Belt team that we played from then on was just decided, hey, you're not going to shoot. So I was literally face guarded the entire rest of the season. So it started weighing in my head like, oh shoot, maybe it might not happen. But then my team definitely knew how close I was. I would yell after almost every 3 how close I was, which in hindsight I shouldn't have done. But it was one of the main things I wanted. Like it would look good on my resume to try to play professionally overseas, and it was something like in my heart. Like I've never had a record for myself. I've always fallen short of stuff, and my uncle used to tell me all the records he had in college, and I'm like, dang, like I wanna have one for myself. And longevity is kind of a big thing for me. So you can always have a good season, but a career record was pretty cool. And it's cool when it happened because I was 6 away with, I hit 6 again, or I hit 4 against Lander, which was an away game. And then I went into Clayton State and I only needed 2, and I hit 1 in the first like 5 minutes. And yes, I wanted to get it at Clayton State because of course you want to get it out of the way so it's not in your head. Mm-hmm. But it worked out really well because it was a home game the next game, and it was against Augusta, who was one of the best teams in our conference, and they were national champion runner-up. They lost in the national championship this year. And I wanted Tommy is a big guy I love here. I've made highlight reels of just him commentating. Like I don't add music because I love hearing him. And he officiated my wedding with Avery. So it's like I have a tie to him. And it meant a lot that I got it at home. And it was a big game. Everybody was there. And I don't think you were there, Chris. I think your brother was calling the game. And I'm pretty sure everybody in that gym knew that I broke it because I yelled and screamed, and it was ridiculous. Like the weight that was just taken off my shoulders was like, whew, I can play basketball now. Like I can enjoy this now because I got it. But no, it means so much to me. Young Harris is always going to have a spot in my heart for the rest of my life. And my career here has been a little up and down, but more good than bad for sure. And I'm glad I got to do it at home. I'm glad that my wife was there. I'm glad that actually her parents were there. So I got to do it in front of them. And Ben Underwood had a 6-shooter shirt on the bench. So they were going crazy. So I mean, it just meant a lot to me that I was able to do it at home.
How difficult was it balancing school and your collegiate basketball career at the same time?
So for me, I'm dyslexic. I'm in the IEP program, so I've always struggled with school. And I was the guy who got taken out of classes in middle school and high school to have a separate setting for tests. So school never really came easy for me. But I was a hard worker and I was determined. If anybody knows me, I hate reading. Words scare me. Don't even tell me to spell anything because I'm not a great speller. I'm lucky that I have Avery because she is constantly spell checking me and emails that I send out, make sure that I use the right form of to and of your and all that stuff. But what I got out of it was the first time that I struggled with something that other people helped me and helped me get through it. So I had a great IEP program in high school. They really helped me. And then throughout college, I've had an amazing experience with the people that help with that kind of stuff. And I was always scared to ask for help when I was younger. I think everybody is. Like, if they're struggling, they don't want to ask for help and speak up. But for me, like, that, having those kinds of people in my corner, it made me more comfortable to start asking for help. And that's helped me in many different aspects of my life. And the funny story, my mom's going to get a crack that I'm going to tell this, because when I first realized that I was dyslexic, it was when I was like 5 or 6, somewhere around there. And have you ever heard of Hooked on Phonics?
Yeah.
So my mom signed me up for Hooked on Phonics, right? And this is clearly, it affected me because it's burned in my memory. I was like 5, and I vividly remember freaking Hooked on Phonics. And I remember sitting in my dad's office chair, and there was this exercise. I forget what you had to do, but it showed like a space or whatever, and words were flying at you. Oh my God. It was like the torture. It was torture. And I went to an eye doctor, and my mom explained what that thing was and what I was doing. And she looked at my mom and was like, well, you tortured your son. It made my mom feel really bad, but it got me the help I needed. And that's another thing that, like, it just goes back to dedicated and determined. Like, school was no different. School was hard for me. School was something I didn't really enjoy. I'm not a big, I don't love school, but I fell in love with basketball, and I knew that both of them were married together. I had to do well in school so I could play basketball. And it helped me all the way through. It's given me, I've always had a work ethic. So I always tried my hardest and all that stuff. And I mean, I think I walked out of high school with like a 3.3 GPA, which I never thought was possible. And then college, I'm going to graduate with a 3.2, I think. Yeah. And I'm graduating this year. So stuff I never thought I was ever going to be able to do. But basketball in school gave me that opportunity to at least prove to myself that I was able to overcome and all that stuff. My dad, I think, is more proud of me for making it through college academically than any of my basketball accomplishments. Because he knew how much of a struggle it was for me, school wise. And he just knew how much I loved basketball, but he didn't know about the academics. But I bared down, I got through it. I'm very organized. So going through college and juggling basketball honestly wasn't super difficult for me, because I was a very good planner. And I was shooting for B's. So it's not like I was shooting for perfection. But always having that motivation factor that, oh, well, if I mess up in school, I'm not going to be able to play basketball. I made sure that my academics were straight. So getting through, Avery helped me a lot also, a lot. So definitely having her, having my parents, and having everybody that was in my corner help me. And I'm a pretty good person. So if I was ever struggling in a class, so I wouldn't say I was a teacher's pet, but I've always knew how to build those relationships. So teachers always ended up loving me. And if I ever struggled, I'm a guy that asks too many questions. So they always at least knew I was trying my hardest, and they knew I was there for basketball, but I built such a relationship with professors and with teachers in high school that if I was ever struggling, I was able to go up to them and ask them for help, and they would always want to help me. So that's kind of how I juggled both.
Seth, let's talk about the creation of your TikTok account. I believe that you started it once COVID hit. You were bored one day. Walk us through that first time that you created your TikTok account, and then also what motivated you to continue to do it, because it could have just been a 1 or 2 time fad to where you're like, I tried, it didn't take off.
So TikTok was a journey for sure. I downloaded it for about a year, and I didn't post anything. I told myself, like, I'm not gonna make an account. I'm not gonna post anything. Just the videos are really funny. So me and Avery would just send videos back and forth to each other. And I stumbled across a basketball video of somebody saying like, oh, I'm going to post a highlight every day until one goes viral. And like, I was like, well, I have a lot of highlights in my phone, so like I'll play around with it. That was probably like, it's addicting because you post a video and one does decent and you're like, ooh, like people like me, so I'm going to keep posting. Nobody prepared me for the ups and downs of social media. And my mom never thought I'd be able to do it once it gets to a certain point, because she didn't know how well I'd block out like haters and hate comments and all that kind of stuff. But at the beginning, the goal was to get to 1,000 followers, because 1,000 followers, you were able to go live. And I was like, that'd be cool to be able to go live, so where I can like talk to people and stuff. But it took me forever. It took me like a year to get to 1,000. And then I got to 1,000, and I would start going live, and I thought, oh, from here, it's going to skyrocket. Well, I'd go live and I'd have 2 people watching, and the 2 people that were watching was my mom and my grandma, and they were in the background of the live. So like they're on the porch and like I'm shooting, and they're the only 2 people watching. So it's like, it was rough, because for a while I was like, well, none of my videos are gaining any traction. None of the lives are really popping off. I'm gaining followers, but very, very slow. There was points where I was just like, I'm going to pack it in. I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if this is what's for me. I remember in JUCO, I told my, one of my teammates, I was like, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and put drills and stuff. And I was like, cause I'm good at that. Like I'm good at doing drills and stuff. And he looked at me and he's like, Seth, I love you, but you don't have the personality for YouTube. And I'm like, oh, you're probably right. Like, I'm not going to. And then that was like knocked me off. I was like, okay, well, if he says I don't have the personality to do it, then I don't. But then TikTok came, and I started doing all that stuff. And I think I got to about 5,000. So like during that summer, from going live and posting some videos. I had a video that did really well. People on TikTok love me shooting off the rack, being able to clear a rack. So my first video that popped off, well, it's funny because our outdoor court looks weird, right? So we didn't have enough money to make a full rectangle. So it's basically just the 3-point line, and it's like a octagon looking thing. So I posted a video on it, and my foot was on the NCAA line, because I was shooting on the wing, so I didn't have enough space to be able to stay behind it. So one of the comments, I love commenting back to a comment with a video. I like doing that, because it's kind of like me showing somebody up without like showing somebody up and being like mean about it. But like somebody commented, because there's this guy on TikTok that has an audio that he yells the 3-point shootout every time that somebody shoots. So I use that audio because people know what that is. People on TikTok know what the 3-point shootout is. And if you look at his page, most of the people that do that suck and they're not good. So they're funny videos. So I used his audio, and I commented, or I replied to a comment that said more like the 2-point shootout, because I was shooting, my foot was on the line. So my mom gave me an idea of like, hey, how about you shoot in the grass? And I was like, oh, that'd be funny. Like that'd be cool. And I did that, and I posted it the next day, and it got to like 17,000 views very fast. And it was probably faster than any video that I've ever had. And I was getting followers, and it was like the first video that I ever had like over 4,000, 5,000 comments. And I like reading the comments. So I think I read every comment. And it's hilarious. It right now it's at 2.2 million views. And that's the most views I've ever had. That was the most just traction I've ever gotten from a video. But the guy who runs the 3-point shootout page tagged me or commented and said like, so what he does is he goes to parks around the country and he videotapes people do the 3-point shootout. And he's like, hey, I could really help you like gain some followers if you come and do this and do well. And I was like, okay, like we'll set up a time. He's from Ohio. He drove like 2.5 hours to a park that I told him to meet me at. And I remember like an hour before I was supposed to go meet him, I was like getting antsy, and I was like, oh, what if I go and I don't do well, and that video ends up being like a meme, or like it does exactly the opposite of what I'm trying to do. And I was like 5 seconds away from calling it off and calling him and saying, hey, like, I can't do this. Like I was so close. And then I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to do it. Like, whatever. I'm going to do it. And he got there. We're at the park. I'm warming up, and it starts pouring down rain. And so I'm like, oh, like that, nothing. But he drove 2 hours. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it in the rain. Like, whatever. And I hit 16 out of 20, which at that point was the record. And he posted it, and I went from like 5,000 to like 8,000 like that night, like just quick. And it's funny looking back at it, because that video of the 3-point shootout, me doing that, kind of blossomed into everything that I've gotten into. There was a guy that works with the dude who does the 3-point shootout. His name's Marson. And he commented on one of my videos, and he said, hey, check your DMs. And so I checked my Instagram DMs, and it was a DM from him. And he said, like, it was basically saying, I want to collab with you, make some videos or whatever. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, well, who the hell would want to collab with me? I'm at 8,000 followers. It's not like I'm blowing up. And then I'm thinking collab, maybe make a couple videos with a product or do something that he wants me to promote. And I'm like, you know what? It'll be a good experience. And he said, do you have time to talk? And I'm like, cool, like whatever. So we talked for like half hour, and he laid out the plan that he wanted to do. It was not just a collaboration. He laid out the idea for a shooting program. He laid out the idea for all this stuff that I've always wanted to do when I was younger. And I never had somebody that knew how to do it. Cause like my dream was to always make a shooting program. Like I wanted kids to have a notebook that said like Seth McCoy drills. Like that was my dream. And I never knew how to do it. So he, just from literally that point, it was like maybe 2 months later, he flew from California to Ohio. I drove to school, dropped all my stuff off, drove back to Columbus, which is like 8 hours. So 8 hours both ways. And we shot from Friday. We went basically 8 a.m. to 12 at night from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So 3 days. The shooting program that you guys watched, that you guys saw, was filmed in a span of 2.5, 3 days. And when it was done, shaked hands. We're partners. Like, we're going to do this. And then I drove back. So I'm running off of like an hour of sleep, getting back to Young Harris. And I got back to Young Harris, and it didn't sink in yet. And like, I was like, I just videotaped the shooting program. I was like, I met this guy 2 months ago, and we just made a shooting program. Like he's turned, it's been a great partnership, because he's kind of turned into a member of my family. I'm very like wear my feelings on my sleeve kind of guy. So if I say you're a member of my family, like I mean it, and it means a lot to me that you're a part of my journey and that you're a part of my life. And Marson believes in everything that I believe. And I made a video the other day kind of saying what I'm about and what I'm trying to tell my followers, kind of what I believe in and all this stuff. And he texted me back, and he said, bro, like that made me cry. Like that made me emotional, because he was never the basketball player that he says I am. And he said, he's a guy from Poland. And he said, I like one of these days I'm going to find somebody that loves basketball as much as I do, but he's going to have the talent. And he said he's always believed that. And I'm blessed that I'm the one that can kind of bring both of our dreams to light. And And he told me, which is funny. He said, I hope you understand what you got yourself into, like with me. And I said, well, I'm hoping I do. Like, we're doing this thing together. Like, I hope I know what I've gotten myself into. And he said, Seth, you're never going to have to work a day in your life. Like, that's my goal. He wants me to make enough money basketball doing this stuff that I'll never have to work a day in my life, because my work is going to be this. And it's funny because in order for me to come back and play this season, Avery took 2 jobs. So she's working at Brasstown Valley Resort part-time, and she's working at the school. So I was making videos and playing a season while Avery was working her ass off to do all this. And at the time, I'm not seeing any profit from it. So, because early stages, it takes a while. So Avery would joke with me like I'm kind of your sugar mama. Like, you're not doing anything, like all that kind of stuff. And I was like, it takes time. Like, it made me feel bad because I was like, oh, I like see the thing. I didn't know I'm very gullible. So I take things personally, and like I thought she was super serious, and I'm like trying to explain to her like what I'm seeing and like all this stuff, and I don't give her enough credit. She's been my rock, and she's been my support system through all this, and it's funny that the shift, because now I'm where I'm at, and she looks at me and she's always like, well, I could be a stay-at-home mom, like that'd be cool, like, and I'm like that's it's cool where I'm at now, because now people are taking me seriously, and even my mom and my dad were like, well Seth, you're not going to be able to make videos and stuff for your life, like you gotta be able to do other stuff, and then my dad would always joke like, oh, he's an influencer and all that kind of stuff, and now they're part of the 6-shooter team. So like my mom's in charge of Facebook, and my dad's helping me with a ton of stuff. And it's like the family that we've built and team that we've built to actually make this thing a thing. Like, I don't give the people in my life enough credit, but I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am if that 3-point shootout video didn't happen. And if I didn't have the support from my wife, my family, and my boy Marson, I don't know where this whole thing would be, because I would have went into it blind, and I'm glad that I went into it blind with people that I love and genuinely look out for what's best for me, and all that kind of stuff. It gets me emotional thinking about it, because I'm a big family guy. So just the people that have always given me support and love are like the ones who helped me do this, and it's been a ride, man. It really has.
Yeah, no doubt. And the ride is really, it sounds crazy, but the ride is just taking off. So you're nowhere near the peak. And you've referenced this video, the one that took off 2.2 million views. We're going to play that here. Spencer's going to pop a few questions off, and then we're going to talk about your academy here as we wrap up the interview here on Talk to Him Tuesday. But here's the video that popped off for you, 2.2 million views. Here we go. Take a look right now at your screen, guys.
The 3-point shootout.
Oh my God! I gotta get the money ball. Did I hit anything?
No, come on, put something on it, man.
Oh man! Oh my God!
15 seconds.
Man! Oh my goodness! This is bad. I get.
Phenomenal. If you guys want to shoot like the 6-shooter, stick around here for our next couple of questions regarding the 6-shooter academy, the shooting program that Seth and his teammate, his co-partner have created. But Spence, fire away with a couple of questions here for you, Seth, regarding TikTok.
So I'm going to make this one a 2-parter. What has been the most challenging part of being a TikTok creator? And then on the other flip side of that, what's been the most rewarding?
I'd say the most challenging is blocking out the outside noise. So like, I try not to take things too personally and all that, but I mean, some stuff does bug you. the whole you loop your videos and all that kind of like your shot's too slow and like all that stuff's kind of hard to block out. It's the loop one's cool now because now I say it's not a loop. That's kind of materialized into the thing that goes on like the back of my back of my t-shirts. It's not a loop. So that's a negative that we turned into a positive. And it's also probably the biggest compliment that you can give a shooter. Cause I mean, it just makes my shot looks the same every time. But the most rewarding honestly is, walking around and kids know who I am. And I never thought that would be something that I got out of TikTok. I'm getting asked for autographs and I'm getting asked to take pictures with kids and kids are texting me saying that they love my drills and that they're really helping them and sending me accomplishments that they've accomplished because of starting my drills. And that's probably the most rewarding thing out of TikTok because I'm able to reach kids that I never would have been able to reach if TikTok wasn't a thing. And so people can make fun of TikTok all you want, but it's changed my life. And it really has got me closer to kids all around the world that want to achieve things that are just amazing.
Yeah, I think that's what's impressive about what you're doing is that you're owning it. You know, you're not just shying away from TikTok. You're definitely taking full advantage of that, and it's paying off, obviously. But you referenced meeting a couple of these kids that have looked up to you, asked for autographs, photos. Pretty cool. It means that you have an impact on their life. Bring that 30, 60 seconds of joy via a TikTok video daily. I know guys across the country that have said, hey, you know, I see Seth McCoy from the school that you broadcast at on my live stream today, and I'm like, yeah, he's legit, man. And they're like, oh, he's at this gym now, or hey, he's back at the school. I'm like, well, I guess spring break is over with. But yeah, again, I want to shout out one guy that I know that met you and you performed a trick shot with, I think following a game, Shane Rogers, Explosive Shane 04 on Instagram. He's a friend of mine, an aspiring broadcaster, did a video, I guess a request from you after a game, and you shot it from the guardrail up top on the track. But shout out to Shane Rogers. But let's talk about this shooting program, Seth. Six Shooter Academy. In a nutshell, before we really delve into this, how would you specify or clarify what exactly your academy, your program is all about?
So the steps that I kind of took was I wanted to help people. I want it to be a positive environment for kids who are younger, who are trying to learn, and for people who are in high school that have already been decent and want to become better. And my drills can even be modified for pros. So I wanted it to be accessible for everybody. And I was nervous doing the shoot for it because I've always been a good public speaker, but I never was in a situation where I'm just staring at a camera and like talking about stuff. So I surprised myself with that. I hope you guys liked the program. That was my first time ever talking just in front of a camera. So hopefully my guy was really good at editing. I'm very bad at going back and watching myself talk. So my guy Marcin sent me the program before he was going to launch it, and he sent it to my family and stuff too. And I told my family, like, hey, just tell me if it's good. Cause I can't, like, it makes me feel weird. And that's funny, but I wanted it to be a daily things that you can get, organized and have something to do every day. And have my big thing is once you get a number one day, your next goal is to beat that number or anything to motivate yourself in that way. So what I tell people, like people ask me all the time, like, well, why should I buy your program or why should I join the academy? And I'm like, well, it's for all levels. You get the tight knit community access. You have complete access to me. I'm always DMing people back and I'm always talking to people. I'm posting stuff in the Facebook group message and kids from all around the country are doing so as well. But it gives you basically from the intro to it is anything from ball handling, ladder drills to my in a row series and form series to every drill that I've ever done in my life and what's gotten me to the point where I am today. So So I tell people all the time, it's like, well, the in a row series is tough. It looks really easy when you're doing it, but it's not just an in a row series. It's a way of tricking your mind into a different state of mind, if that makes sense. Anybody can stand in one spot and hit a certain amount of shots, but it separates you if you can hit those shots in a row. And it gets frustrating because say you get to 3 or 4 and your goal is 5 and you miss at 4 consistently, it really messes you up. But you push through and you stay determined and want to do it, and you feel so good when you finally get to the number that you're trying to get to. And I know it works because it's built from me. Like I'm the product of my own shooting program, and that's something that I really like, because if anybody says, well, does it work? Like, I mean, well, watch me shoot. Can I shoot? Like, that's what these drills are what I grew up doing. And it's cool because some of them I've actually invented. So they have my own little flair, but other ones are taken from shooting programs and from programs that I've done when I was growing up that I actually loved, and I wanted to add it. So shout out to a guy named Taylor Allen. He has no idea who I am, but his program is what I used growing up, and there's a couple drills in my shooting program that's from him. So he's the guy that kind of inspired me to write down all my drills. And it's funny because me and my mom wrote all of our drills down in what we call our binder, our Bible, our basketball Bible. And it's just a binder full of just every drill that I've ever done. And I knew one day I wanted to share it with people because I knew people would love it the way that I did. And I knew that it would help a lot of people. And to get those positive reviews and people saying that it's really helping them means a lot to me, because that's kind of the goal that I set going out.
Yeah, again, a phenomenal program. I checked it out. Spencer checked it out. And from the get-go, from the moment that I signed up for the Six Shooter Academy, I got an instant email saying, hey, welcome to the team. It looked as professional as can be. And now we're just going to work on my shot. I do have to work on dribbling skills first and foremost. I'll shoot you straight. I can throw up an occasional deep 3, but, inconsistent as could be. But I'm telling you right now, I will definitely try out this program during the summer. And I'll keep you updated, because you included a workbook, you included a calendar, all these things that you talked about with the Bible, like you were just referencing with you and your mom, basically is now a part of your program that kids across the country, adults across the country can have. So Talk about how important that was for you to incorporate that into your program that you're selling to everybody right now, Six Shooter Academy.
Well, so I'm not a very competitive person with other people, but I'm a super competitive person with myself. And I think that is a big factor in becoming a good shooter or loving basketball, at least with my drills. So with writing them down and putting them in the calendar and wanting to beat yourself every day, like, that's what got me to the point where I am today. Like, I hit 10 in a row yesterday. Well, I want to hit 12 in a row today. Like, I got 76 out of 100 yesterday. Well, I'm going to get in the 80s today. Like, so it's just, it's cool writing them down because you see your progress and you can see how consistent you're becoming. So especially with like the in a row series, once you get to 10, it's like, hey, like, I've gone through the whole progression of 3 in a row got too easy. Then I bumped it up to 5 in a row got too easy. Then I went to 7, and then 10's now easy. So, I mean, that's kind of the way that I want people to think when it comes to training, because everybody's biggest critic is always themselves. And I think that that's the way to train. Like, always try to beat yourself. So you don't be competitive. Like, yeah, you can be competitive with other people. That's natural, but being competitive with yourself, like, you're going to constantly get better. It's kind of like my dad always saying, like, I'm banging my head up against the same door, but once that door is going to go down, and then I'm just going to start banging my head against another door. Like, be competitive with yourself, because then the sky's the limit.
Seth, what's the quickest, most convenient way for somebody watching this podcast right now to join Six Shooter Academy and start from day one, as you said, and continuously get better? And hey, it's okay to mess up over time. You plugged that throughout the training session that, you're not working properly if you're not messing up. You know, you're not going to start off a pro of Six Shooter Academy right away. So 2-part question: how can they find your academy and join the shooting program? And what's your advice for someone starting off with this program at any level?
So to find my shooting program, you can go to my TikTok page, and I have the link to my website in my bio. So that's probably the easiest and most convenient way to get to have access to my shooting program. And if you're there, hit the follow button so you can follow me on TikTok. And then also you can go to my Instagram page, which is just Six Shooter Academy on Instagram, and I have the link there as well. But the website is sixshooteracademy.com. So it's just right there. It takes you to my website and has access to everything that I have available. And then what was the other question?
What's the initial advice you give to somebody that's just starting off with the program early on in the early stages of someone joining the team?
Don't get frustrated. The In a Row series is designed to make you frustrated. My uncle was the one who kind of engineered that In a Row series, and he's the one who taught me how to shoot. And he went at it a different way than I do. So if I was struggling at a spot, he'd look at me and be like, "Well, do you want me to do it for you, just real quick?" And so like that would piss me off, and then I'd be like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna go ahead and do it." Like that's the way he motivated me to do the thing. But honestly, he never let me get frustrated because he kind of made it a joke. And the In a Row series is tough, man. It's very, very, very tough. I've had teammates, I've had high school teammates, college teammates that aren't able to do it. So you got to know, if you're joining my academy, it's to become an elite shooter. It's not to become an okay shooter. It's to become an elite shooter. So over time, once you start getting better at the In a Row series, and it takes time, you can't get frustrated. And that's why my motto is be positive. Always be positive with yourself. Mm-hmm. I'm a constant overthinker. I let negative thoughts in my head all the time, but I have a tattoo now that has a plus sign on my wrist. So every time I get upset, reminds myself to be positive, and my whole family got the plus sign on their wrists to remind them as well. So be positive is something that you got to continue having in your head. And something I try to tell people is the mental aspect of shooting. I boil it down to three parts: catch, fire, and no regrets. Once that ball leaves your hand, you can't do anything about it. Once that ball leaves your hand, you got to start thinking like, okay, well, it's going to go in because all the hours that I've put into this is going to make it go in. Like, you know what I mean? That's a way to think about it. So it's just like, no regrets. That ball leaves my hands. I know I worked my ass off. I know that I did the steps. I know I didn't cut corners. I know I didn't do all this. So it's always going to pay out in the end.
Yeah, I'm super excited to try this out. I'm trying it out tomorrow. I'm going to follow you on Instagram, give you what I'm missing, because I know I'm going to have some trouble with this program. It's a very in-depth program. I'm excited because I'm probably one of the bottom 5 3-point shooters in this entire region around here, but I still shoot sometimes. So I can't wait to try this out.
Well, anything I can do to help, you DM me and I'll help as much as I can.
Sweet.
I even have kids around the country send me videos of their shot and just say, "Hey, what do I need to fix?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is my thing." So I'm excited.
That's awesome. That's Seth McCoy, a.k.a. the Six Shooter. Check him out, TikTok, Instagram. Also, check out Six Shooter Academy if you want to perfect your shot like Seth McCoy and eventually become a shooter like Seth McCoy or get on that level of the Six Shooter. But again, excited to be here with you on the podcast, man. Talk about your career journey from childhood up to where you're at now. And I firmly and strongly believe that this is just the start of the Six Shooter on TikTok, and we're just climbing up from here, man. So super excited to have you on the podcast, and I'll attach all of the links to follow the Six Shooter on TikTok. Check out his academy on Instagram, his personal Instagram account. Every link that you could possibly want is going to be attached in the description below, including the academy to join. It's a one-time fee. Go sign up. Don't regret it. I know that I'm impressed with it, and I'm looking forward to perfecting my shot. I love sports. I've never been great at sports. That's why I do broadcasting. But, hey, if I can get a 3 down consistently, even 20 out of 50, I'm happy. So that'll be a credit to Six Shooter Academy. But, Seth, before we go, anybody else you want to shout out, any other plugs you want to say before we dip out of here for Talk to Him Tuesday?
This is the part I was waiting for. I want to say thank you to my wife and shout her out. I always make it a goal whenever I do an interview or something to make her blush. So hopefully I can do that here really quick. When for any guy out there that's looking for a girl and you finally find one that rebounds for you and genuinely loves doing it and is your backbone, I'm glad that I found that. To quote The Office, I'm glad that I'll be able to tell my kids that soulmates exist and that I'm living kind of the fairy tale life with my wife, Avery. I still have no idea. So yeah, check out my shooting program, but I might make another program talking about how to trick a girl into falling in love with you, because I absolutely have no idea how I got to where I am and marrying a beautiful human being inside and out. And just a quick little thing. So when I first started getting recruited by Young Harris, the first thing I did was look at the girls' rosters to see what I was working with. I saw Avery. She was the first person that I saw, and I was like, I'm gonna DM her. Like that's the girl. That's the girl right there. DM'd her questions about the school. Probably smoothest thing I've ever done. And she somehow fell for it. And a couple months later, we started dating, and it's been the ride of my life. But she's my ride or die, and I would absolutely do anything in my power and anything ever for her. I love her. I love her family. I love that she's Avery McCoy now, and that I'm off the market. But I somehow tricked an amazing girl like Avery to fall in love with me. But I do want to talk about probably the 3 biggest influences in my life. And I would have kicked myself if I didn't at least mention them. I've mentioned them through the thing, but I want to give them a proper. Okay. My brother was the person that I looked up to growing up. He was the basketball player. He was the one gifted with all the athletic ability, and he was 6 foot when he was in sixth grade. He grew very fast. He's 27 or 26 now, and he's still 6 foot. So he stopped growing. But he was the one that I wanted to be like. He was the person that kind of helped me fall in love with basketball, and he's been probably one of the biggest influences in my life. And I don't tell him enough how much I love him, but I want to make sure that he gets his proper talk about. And he it was cool. We got to play with each other one year in high school, and before he called it quits and was done playing basketball. But I was a sophomore, he was a junior, and I'm always going to remember because I liked working hard. I liked doing drills. He didn't like the drills. He didn't like he didn't like doing that kind of stuff. So, but he understood how hard I worked and how much I loved it. And we were playing against our rival, and the student section started chanting "Seth is better" at him. And it was in the middle of a game, and he stopped what he was doing in the middle of a game and looked at him and yelled, "I know." And if you watch my highlights from my sophomore year, and you just see how excited he is for me, and I'm his number one fan. He's my number one fan. And me and him are co-founders of the Six Shooter Academy, and it's going to be like that forever. And I want to talk about my dad as well. My dad is probably the reason that I am the person who I am today. And I don't give him enough credit for that. Every ounce of my personality is from him. And, of course I got my athletic ability from him as well, but the person who he is, he's the greatest like human being I've ever met in my life. And I'm like still trying to become who he is. I get emotional thinking about it because I don't tell him enough how much I love him and how much he's influenced my life and influenced the person who I am today. And the fact that he didn't like basketball the way that me and my mom do helped me a lot throughout my career, because like if I was ever butting heads with my mom or didn't want to talk about basketball or all that stuff, so I could just go down to his office and talk to him. And he's the one who's given me life advice and all that. And having a guy like that in your corner, like I'm the luckiest guy in the world, because I'm always going to have my dad for anything that I ever need. And again, I'm working every day to become half the human being that my father is. And I'm glad that I've been able to build that relationship with him, and I'm glad that he's going to be a part of this journey with me. And lastly, I want to talk about my mom. All the videos that you see with somebody rebounding for me, it's my mom. It's my mom rebounding for me. She's the first person that put a basketball in my hand. She's it's like she's counting down the days for me to come home so she can rebound for me. Like it's, some people might say it's an unhealthy relationship with a mom and son, but she's my trainer. She's my workout partner. We've done P90X with each other multiple times. Like, we lift together, we work out together. She rebounds for me. She gets up with me at 5 a.m. to go to the rec center before anybody gets there, and she's the one in the gym with me. She drives me to stuff. She drove me to workouts. She's the reason I'm OCD about basketball. She's the reason I love basketball. She's the reason for a lot of things. But again, the family that I have and the support system that I have is unmatched from anything. And I would have those are the main people, but my mama and papa, I know, who are going to probably watch this 37 times tomorrow. They're probably going to watch it a ton tomorrow. They've come to all my games. They've been there. That's like they've been there. Like I'm like, everybody has a family, right? And everybody has different dynamics with their family. And some people only see their family for holidays, and some people only see their families certain times of the year. I see my family every weekend, and I see my family, like, they come over, we do cookouts like every weekend. Like, it took Avery a second to get used to it, because the first time she drove up to Ohio to meet me, my whole family was there. So she didn't just meet me, she met my whole entire family day one. So my uncle's the one who taught me how to shoot, along with my mom. I have great cousins and everything. My little cousin Adam is going to be watching this as well, and he's one of the entrepreneurial sides of the whole Six Shooter Academy. He's taught me how to do social media and all that stuff. So I'm not the person who I am without my family. And I want to make sure that that's the main thing that people get out of this. And one of the main things for me is I had this support system, but for kids out there who don't have that want to accomplish amazing things, like I'm in your corner. I'm your support system. Like, if you join this academy, you're not just going to get drills. You're a part of a family. And that's probably the realest thing that I can tell you. Like, I'm gonna, every waking moment and every fiber in my being is gonna be to help these kids become better. And not just in basketball. Like, I tell people all the time, you can DM me about anything. Like, life. I don't know much about life, but I can try. Like not just basketball. Like, I want to be in people's corners, and I want to help them. Like, yes, this is going to be a way of me making a living and of me providing for my family. But I don't care about the money. Like, I don't care. I don't care how well, like, if a kid tells me that I helped change his life and I gave him somebody to believe in them, and he achieved something that he never thought that he could, and it was because of me, then that makes it all worth it. So join this academy, not just for the basketball aspect, but come join the Six Shooter family, and we'll make sure that you're taken care of.
Again, as for Seth McCoy, a.k.a. the Six Shooter, my co-host Spencer Mathis, and of course myself, we appreciate you tuning in to the Chris Mathis podcast. Talk to him Tuesday with Seth McCoy, brought to you by informationondemand.net. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you guys next week.